I'm also kind of delusional. Chef's kiss. And I had a good time. Our main girly pop lady pirate, they're kind of enemies. Hello friends and welcome to my channel. Today we are kicking off the first 48-hour readathon for Romantasyathon and I'm very excited. I have spent basically the last week and a half or so not really reading a whole ton and not necessarily finishing any books or making any real completed progress. So this weekend we have some big goals ahead of us. First of all, I am buddy reading Archangel's Kiss with Tori and we are at 150 pages. So this is going to be the first physical book that I read probably. I'm having the absolute best time with this book. I am very glad with where we picked this book up. I was kind of concerned with where we left off the first book that we would lose some of the same angsty fighting back and forth between Elena and Raphael, and we're not. They're very much so feisty. Following the events of book 2, these two characters are learning how to trust each other and like figuring out what the heck just happened to them, and it's good. I'm having a great time with this. Like, very much so. And I feel like I'm kind of cheating coming into a 48-hour readathon with 2 books with some major progress on it. Technically I'm like just at halfway with Archangel's Kiss, but then I am also 80% of the way through White Hot by Alona Andrews, which is book 2 in the Hidden Legacies series following Burn for Me, which I, third 5-star of the year, obsessed. That book changed me. It is just so fun, and like it's superheroes in the sense that like they're not running around with like secret identities or anything, but they do have secret powers, and it's just fun. And we're getting to learn a lot more about these characters and things are developing, and I'm right at the point where I'm about to get to the really good juicy ending and I'm ready for those things to occur. I'm also not really ready, but like also I'm ready, so that's where we're at with that book. And then The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. Everyone has been talking about this book and I want to read it so bad. And then I watched Rachel at Ravenhaired Reader, her vlog that she just posted, and I was like, okay, fine. I have to read it. Like, I knew I was going to read it, but I was like, no, it's priority now. So that is on the TBR for this weekend. And then I did my unhaul a couple days ago and I realized I had this book. I got this book at a random, like, more furniture style thrift store in my hometown and it was $2. I think it technically would fit into the retelling prompt. I don't really have anything else that I'm targeting for that prompt, and I feel like this would be something off of my physical TBR that could work. It's short. It's gonna be a super fast-paced, spicy time that can just like have its own little moments. So we have got some things on the TBR for this weekend. I am slightly concerned because tomorrow I do have rehearsal at 2 for a patriotic concert kind of thing, which is going to take up some time, and then I have book club at 5. So basically tomorrow afternoon and evening is kind of going to be a wash, truthfully. So what I'm contemplating at the moment, because I do have so much progress in these other books, I want to hopefully tonight knock those first 2 books off the list and then start one of the novellas maybe, and then just kind of see where that puts us. So we're just gonna see how much we possibly can read in a 48-hour readathon that I won't actually have the full 48 hours, unfortunately. We might end up extending this to Monday for my own purposes, just to kind of wrap up if we do have anything that we need to wrap up, but we shall see. I have really good high hopes for this weekend. It's Friday at lunch right now. I may or may not pick up the audiobook during work today for Children Fallen Gods. Not really sure if I'll have time, but I might. I'm now rethinking everything because I initially gave my TBR just like off the top of my head. The top of my head was clearly not in the right place because not only do I need to be reading the Who Did This to You June book club pick, I also have like my local book club pick, The Honey Witch. So I think what I'm actually gonna do instead of doing Children of Fallen Gods, I'm gonna get the Honey Witch audiobook and then read, is it Beneath? I haven't actually downloaded it yet, and clearly that means that I also just don't remember anything about it because I can't even remember that it's on my TBR for this weekend. I don't. Anyways, I'll put a title over here so it doesn't really matter. So I need to read that book. I'm very excited about that pick because I've never read a Claire Sager and I really desperately want to. I'm also, oddly enough, I am really never in the mood for a pirate book. I think because it's summer and I haven't been doing any like fun frilly summer reads, I think a pirate one will kind of satisfy that mental need for me. I'm hoping. Anyways, so that is everything that is on the TBR for this weekend and for this readathon. I have very high hopes for how all of this is going to go for us. We shall see. Clearly, I'm already in a really great mental space for this. It's going to be great. I'm so excited. Hello, friends. I have been a busy little bee. It is like our TV's in military time. Cannot. I mean, I know what daytime military times are, but like evening, all bets are off. It is 8 o'clock. which I feel like I've done less reading than I potentially would have imagined. However, I've been a very productive individual. I ended up getting a HelloFresh box today. I'm very excited about the meals that I got though, and I did make 2 of them. So I'm feeling like a prepped and primed little human for this weekend. I also did the dishes. I am the worst at doing dishes and like remaining dry. Like I literally will be obviously covered in water, so that's cool. I managed to get a hold of the Honey Witch audiobook and I'm having fun. You're set up with Homegirl in a little like Bridgerton type Regency. They're at a ball filling up her dance card, but ultimately she just wants to get out of the dance. She just wants out so she can go hang in the woods and figure out what the heck this like magic thing that she's got going on is. Come to find out, she is a honey witch. She has now been swept away into the world of magic, and so we've kind of lost like the original Regency setting, and now we're off into Innisfree figuring out all of the witchy actual things. So we're getting to learn what's going on as she is learning what's going on, which is really fun. As an audiobook, there are accents and it just makes it feel like so much more like floral in tone, like so much more fun and flowery and whimsical witchy versus like dark scary witchy. I'm like 6 chapters in at the moment, and I'm gonna keep on keeping on, mostly because I have to finish this book before book club tomorrow. I originally was going to listen to the audiobook and then pick up something else on my Kindle, but at this point I'm like, I need to get moving with this book. So I might switch over to the Kindle version of it later tonight, but for now we're living on the audiobook. I'm getting some cleaning type things done, which is very, very needed. Yeah, this week I've been kind of a mess, which is absolutely nothing new. I've been trying to do like my chores and washing my laundry and stuff on Thursdays, like during the day. If I get things done on a Thursday, or at least start on a Thursday, finish up on a Friday, then I have the whole weekend to have a clean house, which is spectacular. So I got a little behind on that this weekend, and now my house is an absolute mess. As you can kind of tell by the bookshelf that's behind me. So what we are going to do, get my life in order, so that way for the rest of the readathon I'm like kind of set up, and also while I'm listening to an audiobook, we are going to just continue getting some stuff done, and we will check back in later. So I just made it to part 2 a literal 5 minutes later, and I am so emotional right now. I feel like I very rarely get emotional with audiobooks, and I am emo. So I feel like we wrapped up kind of one direction that we were intending on going, and now I'm like, what is next? I can't wait for what's next. There has been no romance up until this point. It has genuinely just been her relationship with her grandma, and just learning like what even being a honey witch is, and like literally anything to actually do with that, and then reforming that relationship with her grandma. They didn't have the kind of relationship that was fully open with like everything that her grandma was and everything that Marigold would be. Like they'd never talked about that kind of stuff. The fact that this book has not included any romance up until this point, I've actually liked quite a lot. I'm someone who generally prefers romance and who generally very strictly requires it, but at this point in this story I'm like locked and loaded regardless of there being a love interest or not, just because the family relationship here is so wholesome, hi buddy, and heartfelt, and just like emo. Okay, also I've not moved in the last 5 minutes and I'm kind of running out of steam here, so my chores list has greatly suspended itself. I was gonna say, but that's okay, and then I remembered that my sheets are in the washing machine. Y'all, chapter 23. I was eating a bowl of cereal, so I probably have Fruity Pebbles like all over my face. Remember that one time when I said I was okay with the fact that there wasn't any romance in it yet? Oh, I'm giggling. This is so angsty yet wholesome at the same time, and the specific verbiage that was just used just like took me so off guard in the best of ways. And I cannot believe what just happened. And I love it. I completely guessed. I feel like it was pretty obvious where it's going. I don't care. I'm floored with how I'm also kind of delusional because it is midnight and I'm just kind of like vibing along with my little audiobook, just kind of like walking along, avoiding all general responsibilities. This is fantastic, I fear. If you're at all interested in this book, you should ride that interest out. Respectfully, stat. I'm currently listening to the audiobook at 2.2 speed, and I think that is partially why that scene in particular just hit so freaking hard, because that whole thing just like came out of nowhere and I was just like, wait, what oh, what is happening, what and it was just perfection. The particular way that things are worded and just the prose, I think listening to this specific writing from somebody with an accent, I tell you, it is giving it so much more of a florally, just like, not fantastical, but I'm trying to find synonyms for whimsical without actually looking up synonyms apparently, and I feel like that would be beneficial, but we're not doing that apparently. I'm gagged. I'm quite literally gagged. You are introduced to this character in the first part, and you kind of suspect, knowing that this is a sapphic romance, you kind of suspect that is who everything is going to be about. Oh my gosh. You don't really, I feel like this is turning into like, you know how the delirium you get to watch people in whenever people do 24-hour readathons? I feel like we're unintentionally there and it's hysterical to me. You're introduced to this character. You don't immediately root for this character. You root against them solidly. And it's not really enemies because she knows nothing about this other person. And then you start to figure out more about her. And then you start to figure out more. And then more happens. And then it just like keeps building and building. Marigold isn't hiding her feelings, but it's not that she's not intentionally very bold. It's the fact that she just like keeps flustering herself into accidentally saying things, and she's like, wait, what did I just say? Wait, what did I just said that you're beautiful. I said that out loud, and it's amazing. Like, she doesn't quite, it's like her mouth just flies 80 seconds faster than her brain, but at the same time there is this curse on the women in the family, so she knows that she is never going to fall in love, and so she feels guilty for entertaining the idea that they could be in a relationship when she knows that she's like so flustered by this girl and it's just so basically all but fallen for her. And so she's like, but I can't let this happen because it's not going to be able to happen, and this is a very serious curse. Like, it's a curse for a reason, and it's very angsty. There's a lot of longing because she's dealing with a lot of loneliness, and so having this relationship starting to form, and because all she's ever wanted was somebody to see her, and all she wants now is to see this other character, and they saw each other. Chapter 23 is all I'm going to say. I mean, as if I haven't said a million things otherwise, but chapter 23. I want to just scream very specific spoilers, but I won't. But I want to so bad because what just happened, I'm like, oh my Lanta. Okay, so also chapter 24, for other reasons, I am shook. I think part of the reason why this is hitting me so aggressively is because I did not read the synopsis going into this whatsoever, so I knew nothing. I did just read it, and this book is so up my alley in terms of the actual content. In terms of the setting, I wouldn't have pictured myself being into something like so cottagecore like this, because I'm not really a cottagecore kind of girly. Like, I'm an autumn, okay? Cottagecore, spring, never really been my forte. This book is my forte. I can say that rather confidently. And I'm just barely halfway. Like, if I'm just barely halfway, is it going to stay this good? Am I going to continue feeling this good about it? We don't know, but I am hopeful. I've read one, well, technically I DNF'd it, one other sapphic book before, but it was like a Halloween holiday kind of witchy book. And I didn't like it very much. I didn't think that the chemistry felt very one-sided to me, and the plot itself wasn't very good, so I DNF'd it. And so I've always been curious if a sapphic book, if I would even be interested in the romance kind of thing. I am so interested in this book. So I feel like if you have never read a sapphic book that you've liked, or you've never read one and you're curious about it, taken from the person who's read none officially, this book is great and you should try it. Remember that whole curse thing? Yeah, apparently me neither. I'm not scared, I'm yours. This is stupid. I love it. I cannot believe that earlier I was like, I'm not gonna give this a 5-star. I already know it. Girl, did you? I had kind of wondered if it was gonna be a whole, like, the curse is you're destined to never fall in love with a man. And then in walks Lottie. I like where this is going much better than that. I felt like that would have been a really quick, easy solution that would have been like, whatever, and kind of cheap. They are working overtime many times over. It's currently 1 a.m. I have no intentions of stopping anytime soon. I really should actually. I don't mean to keep updating, but then I keep having things to say, and I feel like at this point I really should just get out my tripod and just like have it ready to go, because things just keep happening and I just keep living, laughing, and loving. Good morning, friends. Kind of, sort of. It's like 11:45 a.m. I went to sleep fairly soon after filming the last clip about the Honey Witch. I have just over an hour left in the audiobook. I love it. This morning I like laid in bed and read my book, and then my roommate went and got us coffee and breakfast burritos. The most vibiest Saturday morning that has ever Saturday morning. When I woke up this morning, I was kind of debating if I wanted to shower and get ready earlier this morning, so that way I could then watch the first like hour or so, basically the first reading sprint on Rachel's channel, and then go to rehearsal. But then I was like, well, I could just save the full reading sprint until this evening, so I think that's what I'm going to do. And then I might finish this book tonight, depending on if Tori wants to read the last half of this book. We basically split up the last portion that we had remaining in between today and tomorrow so we could finish it this weekend during the readathon. And if she ends up reading the last half of this book today, I might also finish this today. But this morning I decided to lay in bed and read a little bit more of, why was I gonna say Angel's Blood again? Archangel's Kiss. I'm at page 240, so I have one more chunk of reading to go before I actually finished it, but I wanted to go ahead and just like give you a quick little update, because this book is at a point where it could go one of two ways. I'm at the point where I am so sucked into the plot, the mystery plot that's happening. I want to keep reading. I feel like I read the 100 pages this morning very, very quickly because I needed to know what was happening. However, we're at a point where the ending is really going to make or break this book for me, because I feel up until this point there are a couple issues that I'm having with the sideline plot, most of which are spoilery, but we're getting to see Elena kind of take a step back and have to train herself in this new environment. And she's at the very bottom of the food chain in this environment in terms of where we are in this book. And I'm just ready for her to step up and just be the baddie guild hunter that she is, based on how we met her in the prior book. I feel like Angel's Blood was very much so an introductory to here's this really cool badass character, and Archangel's Kiss is more like here's some more building and some more development, and I think it's really kicking off a future in the series. And it feels like we're taking a step back, when in all reality I just want to like steamroll forward. So there are a couple things in this book that I really wish we would have included that we didn't, and I think mostly because we were trying to include some of these other more like emotional plot lines, when in reality I just wanted to see these other things happening we didn't get to see. That's where I'm kind of at with this book. I'm very much so motivated to finish it because I am obsessed with the plot. Some of the other like sub conflicts in this book, I'm not completely convinced that that's how we needed to do this. but I am very much so invested in finishing this book. And if it does end well, I feel like I will still continue on with the series. It's just a question of how much I will want to read the rest of the series. Elena's kind of in her Wumpy era, and I want her to be back in her Batty Geld Hunter era. With haste. I do, however, relationship-wise, I do feel like we're getting more of the emotional, we're finally starting to talk things out side of this relationship, which I'm very excited to have revealed to us, because I feel like we were just very lust forward for a minute, which is great, fine, and dandy, but for these characters to be doing what they're doing, they need to be kind of convincing in the fact that they are made for each other. So I'm glad we're getting more of that. So I'm gonna go shower and like get dressed and ready to go to rehearsal. And while I do that, I'm gonna listen to The Honey Witch some more. And I'm gonna go to rehearsal and to book club. And then after book club, I'm probably gonna pick this book up. And then after I have finished The Honey Witch and then this book, I'm going to go back into White Hot. So hopefully I can get that finished today. And then we will be locked and loaded. That way tomorrow I can start Beneath Black Sails, which is a Who Did This To You book club pick for June. And then if I have time, I can do The Veiled Kingdom and then The Beast. Which if I don't have time for The Beast, I won't necessarily be mad at it. But I kind of came into this weekend with the vibes of if I didn't read The Beast, then I was going to get rid of it because I've had it for so long and I've literally forgotten about it. And I think the only reason I would read this is to fit it into this prompt. So maybe I should prioritize that over The Veiled Kingdom. And then I can read that sometime this week. I think that shall be the plan. Got back from rehearsal. The most absolute beautiful church. This concert is technically in partnership with the church's choir. That choir, it's beautiful. As someone who doesn't have necessarily a lot of experience with choirs playing at the same time that a choir singing, it's just like so much fun. So I had a really good time at rehearsal, but I don't know why in my head I really thought the book club was at 5. It's definitely at 7. I don't really know where my brain was going with that. I think it just made it up because it was convenient to leave rehearsal and then go straight there basically. But we have made it back home for just a hot minute. So I figured I would have some time to give you a quick little update on The Honey Witch before I sit down, eat some dinner, and then potentially finish or get really close to finishing Archangel's Kiss. I keep trying to say Angel's Blood. Anyways, my literal only complaint about The Honey Witch, I wish that the resolution and the ending just was a little bit longer. However, I really like this book. I did earlier today go look at Goodreads reviews, and a lot of people, a lot of people either gave it 5 stars or they DNF'd it, which I thought was really interesting. Around the 20 to 30% mark, there's still not much happening. Like I said, there's not any romance up until this point. So be warned, if you do read this, don't read it for the romance at the beginning. You're gonna read it for this person's life and her family and just like all this setting built up, because again, this is kind of a standalone, so you're getting all of the magic at the beginning. But if you can get through that, which I personally did not think that it was a slog whatsoever, but mentally I was cooking 2 meals at a time. My mom was calling, like there was a lot happening all at once. So I think had not all of that also been going on, this would have definitely been a 5-star, and I may end up changing that rating at some point, but for now it's gonna stick at a 4.5. But you guys, if you're looking for something that's so wholesome, but at the same time very angsty and tensiony, not necessarily dark, but very upsetty spaghetti at certain points. Last night I was so aggressively giggling along the whole freaking time, and I did not want to go to sleep, and I just kept listening to it until I fell asleep. And I'm just really glad that this was our book club pick. I'm glad that I was kind of forced, if you will, not really forced, but forced to pick this book up, because I don't know that I necessarily would have, but I feel like, especially because I have been reading so much fantasy lately, which I love fantasy, don't get you wrong, but I've not had a fun summer read yet. This book, it feels very fun summer. I think it's technically more so spring, but the timing of it hit just right, and I had a good time. So we are going to eat some dinner, figure out how to spend the next hour and a half most likely reading Archangel's Kiss, which I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it. I think I'm going to have just enough time to be just close enough to finishing it, which will be good because I'm going to go to book club, I'm going to drink some wine, and I'm probably not going to come back and read like I initially thought I was, if I'm being realistic. Especially because I stayed up so late last night, and then my dogs woke me up at like 9 a.m. this morning, and your girl gets a little sleepy when she drinks wine. So far, we have completely finished one book. We are about, I would say probably 70% of the way through another book, and then I'm still at 80% in White Hot. We're really close to finishing some books, which is what this weekend was supposed to be for me. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling motivated. Things are going right. Tomorrow I plan to dive in and just like read all day because I ain't got no plans tomorrow, and it is going to be, oh yeah. I'm so fortunate to be in my era where I have no dependents and I genuinely can fairly often have girl rot reading days. Ugh, what a time to be alive. Anyways, that's all for now. We'll check back in later. I made it. I'm so excited. Now Mr. Benny's harvest. What? It made it smell really, really delicious. So fantastic. So you remember the beer? Wait, you're missing. Wait. Hold. With the YouTube. Ta-da! Wait, is it covering Honeywitch?
No, I mean it's okay. That's great. Here we go. 10 out of 10.
Happy Sunday, my friends. Last night went to book club, and Casey, you guys, I tell you, when I say that she did the most, she did the absolute most, and it was perfection. She had all of this stuff that was all perfectly themed for the Honey Witch, and it was just the absolute cutest, and it was the funnest times. And we made pots. Hold on. We painted flower pots, and she gave us all wildflowers to put in our little pots. So I'm gonna have to find some soil and see how long it takes me to kill these, because that's generally what I do, but it's just the cutest, like, such a fun book club, and also just like such a fun book. I am considering this weekend a big fat win so far. I do have a couple of reading updates that I wanted to get into really quickly. Last night I did finish Archangel's Kiss. I'm giving it a 3.5 star. I had a fun time. The plot was very much, I really quite liked the pacing. I felt like I was very motivated to figure out what was happening. I didn't love the fact that this book, you kind of take a step back from the original story and kind of prep and prime the rest of the series for this new direction. And while it was fun, I didn't love how much our main character took a step back from being this baddie guild hunter that we came to know and love. So I am definitely encouraged by the ending of this book in terms of how the rest of the series is going to go, and we are definitely going to be getting into Archangel's Consort probably week after next. But the other complaint that I had with this book is that the ending, I felt like we were building up this absolutely wild thing, and then it just kind of ended. Like, I didn't feel like we were building up something that was super high stakes, but then the resolution of that very high stakes conflict wasn't as high stakes. So overall, this book was fine. It wasn't just like my favorite thing in the whole world, but I definitely felt like it read a lot faster than book one for me, and I have so many questions, and I definitely still want to continue on in this world. So it was a good book, not a great book, but I definitely had a fun time reading it, so like I will take that solidly. So I finished this last night, like right after book club, and then I woke up this morning and did readings friends. I finished White Hot, which is the book after Burn for Me by Alona Andrews. I love the series. I genuinely just am absolutely obsessed with this series. I'm giving this book a 4.5 star just because there was a part kind of like 3/4 of the way through that I felt like I was having a hard time envisioning what was happening, but literally everything else was just absolutely stunning. The romance, chef's kiss. The plot, chef's kiss. Do I absolutely love where we're going, and do I absolutely need to read book 3 immediately to figure out what the heck is going to be resolved in terms of Nevada's story? Absolutely. So I am very glad to have finished that. If you've not already started the series, Burn for Me, absolutely stunning, amazing, wonderful. They're both on KU, which is a big fat win, and also I feel like they're really fantastic books for if you're in the middle of a book slump, or you just feel like everything's feeling the same but you're still wanting to read a fantasy romance, because it is that, but it's just a little bit different than a lot of other very typical fae fantasy romance kind of styles. So I would totally recommend that, and I had the absolute best time reading that book. And then I decided to pick up The Veiled Kingdom, which I liked it a lot. The ending of it, I was kind of ticked off, and I really need to read book 2 now, and the fact that it is coming out in July is just fantastic. I was going to be very upset if it was going to come out later than July, but we're good. It's fine. Everything's fine. We had a bit of a cliffhanger and I am not okay. The plotting of it definitely felt like it was under 300 pages and you got info, but you didn't just like really get a ton of info, and so my brain is definitely peaked for where the heck the series is going. I'm gonna give it a 4-star. I'm gonna stick with a 4-star. My gut is telling me 4-star, but I liked it a whole time. Basically, am I giving it a 4-star because the main male character is Dacre, and I still don't know how to pronounce the name, and it just drives me a little crazy? No, but that would be funny if I did. Not at all. Anyways, she's on the run from her life as the princess and the only heir to the throne of a kingdom. So she is able to escape the castle, but she's not able to really escape the town and get to actual safety just yet. And then she gets captured by rebels. And the rebels kind of conscript her into fighting for them. But the person that rescued her just happens to be very, very attractive and very infuriating. But he also just so happens to be the son of the commander of the rebellion, so they're kind of enemies and good times ensue. And she is now being trained to fight and it is infuriating and it's fantastic. Loved literally everything about this book except for the direction that the romance took at the end. I know why the romance went where it went. I just didn't love that it went there. That was definitely enough to knock a whole star off for me. However, everything else is just chef's kiss immaculate and I cannot wait for book 2. And then at this point, I decided to read The Beast by Katie Robert. I just finished it and this is nothing but just a spicy fun time. This is basically a retelling if The Beast, Gaston, and Belle were in a throuple. Is this something that I typically like? No. Did I like it this time around? I think I did. This very much so was just a time passer for me and just to get it off my physical TBR, but I'm not necessarily upset that I read it. Like, it was still kind of fun, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because it is literally just spice. If you're wanting something just short and spicy, this exists and was quite fun. I did say at the beginning of this weekend that if I didn't read this, I would need to unhaul it. And my friend Sarah DM'd me and said that if I was going to get rid of it, to let her know. So I might end up sending this to her because I don't think I will ever reread this, but it is a very short book that I'm getting to squeeze into the retelling prompt, which works for me. So like I said, it is Sunday, which is technically the last day of the readathon. However, I have not read Beneath Black Sails yet. It is 7 o'clock. I don't have work tomorrow. I have some time to read some things. And so I feel like I'm gonna sit down and I'm going to read Beneath Black Sails. Mostly because I'm very stubborn and I feel like I'm very close to finishing the TBR that I originally set. I'm not someone who's good at reading TBRs, and so I feel very motivated given that I'm like kind of almost there if I just like read one more book. But also because I didn't really read a whole time yesterday. Like, I didn't have a full day of reading, so it wasn't technically 48 hours. If I had to add up how much time I've actually spent reading on this readathon so far, I read pretty late Friday after work, but then yesterday I read for probably like 3 hours in the morning and then another maybe 2 hours in the evening. So if we're going to be over generous, we're going to call it 5 hours. And then today we're going to call it 4 hours or so. So point being, I have definitely not been reading for 48 hours, even though I 100% cheated coming into this readathon by having one book halfway done and one book 80% of the way done. So I technically have finished a lot of books, but I have not done a whole ton of reading. So I am going to extend the readathon just because I can. Today technically is the last day in June and I need to read the June Who Did This To You book club pick. So it's time to chop get on it because I am nothing if not a last minute book club book reader. And that's just true to who I am. So we're just going to be who I am at this point. Anyways, I am going to go start this book and I will check back in when I have finished this because I know that this vlog is going to be very long because I've been feeling very chatty this weekend, and then we will close out this vlog and the readathon at large. Hello friends, we have officially finished Beneath Black Sails and I have some thoughts, but overall not a whole lot. This book was fine. It wasn't like the best book ever. If you're someone who liked Fable by Adrienne Young, Beneath Black Sails is very much so like the adult romantasy version of this book. Vice, our main girly pop lady pirate, she did not rub me the right way from the get-go. She very much so was giving childish and like headstrong and not in a good way. And one of her friends totally called her out in the beginning and I was like, oh, amazing. So I think once you kind of got past that and into some more of the actual development of the book, that got so much better. And I definitely started to like her more. The plot line, I love this. I feel like our male main character, Nye wasn't the most special or unique male character, but he definitely like fit all the template bills. So it was definitely fun. However, what I think is really going to be good about this series is book 2. I was looking through my Kindle. This is a completed quartet, a saga, if you will. But I feel like book 2 has some really good promise. I'm not sure if I'm going to read it again because the pirate situation is not necessarily my favorite, but where we left off in book 1 has me so excited for where book 2 is gonna go. So overall, I gave this more of like a 3.5 stars. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't like super great, but it definitely was good. And if you're someone who likes pirate fantasies, I feel like this could be a good one to look at. Like I've mentioned, I haven't read very many like summer books, and I feel like this is definitely a fun fanro that kind of like gave more summer adventure vibes. It also, I'm looking at the page count, it's also 384 pages, so like it's not terribly long whatsoever. And I think that's part of why it worked the way that it did, because you were getting some world building, but it wasn't so much. It was mainly just to kind of get your foot in the door and get ready for the plot moving forward, which I am so excited about. Assuming I do read it, which I don't know the likelihood of me reading it. There are so many other KU fanros that I really want to get to, but who knows, maybe I'll read it, maybe I won't. We'll find out, I guess. Anyways, that was the final book that we read for this 48-hour readathon, which technically I did cheat just a little bit. I did extend the days of this readathon, but because I wasn't really reading the full day on Saturday, so I'm fully counting it. I feel so productive and motivated to read more after this readathon because A, I finished a couple books I was in the middle of, but then I read a lot of shorter books that I had been just wanting to get to, and I feel so motivated to read right now, and that's fantastic. Honestly, you cannot ask for a single thing more after a readathon, because typically it's either I don't want to read ever again because I just read so much, or you suddenly feel very motivated to read, which is very much so my case. Also, I'm really hoping the audio for this clip is good. I did just get a new microphone, so we're moving up and along in the world. Overall, this weekend, I read some really freaking good books. We didn't have a 5-star this weekend, but we had several 4.5 stars. The Honey Witch I gave 4.5. White Hot I gave 4.5. The Veiled Kingdom I gave a 4. I think really more of a 4. The Beast I put it as a 4 on Goodreads. We're gonna call it that. And then Beneath Black Sails was a 3.5. I feel like to read so many books and to have so many of them be actually good is just fantastic. Later tonight, I'm going to go in and fill in my graphics for romantasyathon. I feel like I'm in a really good place. I did decide, just because of how June went in my reading, that I will be using 2 prompts per book, but I will limit myself to 2 prompts. I was considering multiple counting books, but then I felt like if I just cut it off at 2, I would be able to double up on prompts, but then it would still be a challenge to completely fill up the board. So this was a very fantastic readathon. I'm considering this a big fat success. Thank you so much for watching this video. I had so much fun also just filming this little vlog. I know this one has been a long one so far, so thank you so much for sticking around until the end. And if you did, leave a bee emoji, because the Honey Witch kind of rocked my world, and also it's summer, so leave a bee emoji down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I will catch you in the next one.